It is Friday night, December 16th, which is, if you know, the birth date of the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Ludwig von Beethoven. And I know this because my mom was sitting watching Captain Kangaroo with my older brother the day she went into labor. It is my birthday. We are going to celebrate Beethoven's. We're going to play some Fur Elise. We are not going to do that. But I'm saying this to tell you that I've been celebrating my birthday since about 6 p.m. It's 11. So, Will, you are the host tonight. I'm chilling. I'm hanging. I'm going to be in the background. I might just mumble, fall asleep. I promise nothing, but we're going to have a great time because we have Pat Shand and Will. Take it away.
Will there be drooling, perhaps?
I promise nothing.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you
Happy
very much.
birthday.
I thank you very much. It was a situation where I knew that the last chance we could have a show was tonight, and I was like, heck yeah, I want to have a show. And then when Pat said he could come on, I was like, guaranteed we have to have Pat on. We have to talk about Smoke Weed, See the Future, which I can't imagine what that book is about. So Pat, 30 seconds are left. Can you explain this conundrum of what this book is?
Yes, Smoke Weed to the Future is about a seer who develops a strain of weed that allows normal people to see what she does, the future. She does it for therapeutic reasons, but people tend to try to take advantage of the service and use it for personal gain. So it is a weed comedy, fantasy, and crime thriller. We are live on Kickstarter now with Volume 2. You can get Volume 1 as well, and it's going well. It's going very well.
I have heard a theory that is espoused to you that people say that Pat Shand says to take your log line and make it your title. Is that accurately?
Yeah. You know, Smoke Weed to the Future is my experience has been this, and this was the plan. Like most of my plans worked. Okay. I wanted
you smoked weed, you saw the future, you said, I'm going to use my log line.
It's true. I want titles where people passing the booth do this. And you know, come back and be like, what is this? And from the title, you kind of know what it is, but it's such a it seems like a non sequitur, Smoke Weed to the Future. It grabs attention, makes people want to ask while also doing the heavy lifting of the elevator pitch. Same idea as I did with Gangster as Barista. Gangster as Barista is about a barista who was in a gang. You know, it's and you get the sense of it, and you also get the tone too. You know, both of these books are more comedic books, and from the title being what it is, you can get that sense of that it's not going to be 100% a crime drama. It's going to have elements of humor as well.
Right. Awesome. We got some people in the chat. Shawnee, thank you for joining us, and I do appreciate Kevin with the happy birthday buzz, the infinite, yeah, Will, you're gonna have to do this. The infamous Pat, drunk and Invisalign coming, making infamous very hard to say, and Will trying to keep it under control. It's gonna be a humdinger of a show. I agree, Shawnee. Rob Anderson, love you, buddy. Thank you very much. Thank you all. But yeah, let's just get into it. I'm going to open up the page. Let's look at Smoke Weed and See the Future. Now, this is volume 2. How did you bring the group together that you're working with on this one?
All right. How did I bring the group together? For editorial and lettering, it's the same thing every time. I am always writing or involved in writing. On this title, I am writing. Shannon Lee is the editor of every title at Space Between Entertainment, my company. Jim Campbell is the letterer at every Space Between title. And the artist here is Elena Amanetti. And I worked with her for the first time on Thirsty. For those who don't know Thirsty, that is my not safe for work adult, the first title in that line of comics. We did Thirsty and then Cheeky, and next year Steamy. That line is essentially standalone erotica stories that tie together in the end of each volume, sort of like a Crash but with sex.
Uh-huh.
And she did a story in there, and then she did a short, a sort of a, I don't want to say dream sequence, but she did a certain kind of reverie sequence in Destiny New York 5, and her take on the Destiny New York characters in particular, how she drew those characters, and just seeing the uniqueness of her style. She does pencils digitally, and then she inks over. No, she does pencils digitally, and then she does grayscale shading physically, and you can see the texture of the actual shades. It has this sort of watercolor vibe, beautiful. Um, and she was looking for work with me, and I saw her and I wanted to work with her long term, And Destiny New York and Smoke Weeds to the Future are my two ongoing series. That there's no end in sight for either, and I booked Elena on volumes 2, 3, and 4, so we'd have a cohesive run with her as the artist. We could end it for 2. I'm not sure there, but I at least want a nice long arc with Elena. You can see the art here. It's very beautiful. She has a very unique touch to her, where she does such smooth, confident lines and this sort of painterly vibe in the grayscale shades, which I personally love. And then for the covers, Jen St. Ange did volume 1, and so we have her doing one cover per volume, just because continuity, cohesiveness. That's her cover right there. We have Marguerite Sauvage doing a cover as well, and our first ever cover from Luana Vecchio, which is the add-on cover for this campaign, which we unlocked through stretch goals. And yeah, that's the large. We have trading cards as well, which the artists go on and on and on. We have a lot of people involved here, but that's the main stable of artists in Smoke Weeds to the Future Volume 2.
No, that's nice. I do see what you're saying with the watercolor feel of the art.
Yeah, it's such a unique vibe, It is like nothing I've seen before in comics, and especially when you see the high res, there is this sort of pulpy texture to the backgrounds where you can tell that it's physically done, and yeah, it's just great.
Do you have any conversation with the artist when she says, "I want to do digital, I want to do this," or do you kind of just say, "Do it how you feel"? How did that come about?
I forget at what point it was, but it was either on her Thirsty story or on Destiny New York, where I know where it was. It was on Thirsty. She did this style, and then she did a Destiny New York short, which was pushed to volume 6. It was gonna be in 5 to start, but it's now in volume 6. And she started to do this sort of very traditional inky style, which was awesome. But I was just so in love with this that I said, "Hey, could we go back to this style?" And ever since then, she's been rocking with this. And it's terrific. Yeah.
If you're listening to the podcast, go to the YouTube page, no, don't do that. Go to the Kickstarter page, and look. I'm looking at this page where the lead character is just floating in space, and just that image is so strong and gorgeous.
Right? I largely just share art from chapter 1 when I do Kickstarters, and that's from chapter 2. And man, oh man, I loved it. There's a lot here that, she balances this sort of more indie, almost like top shelf Fantagraphics slice of lifestyle with this sort of otherworldly take that is, to me, it's unique. I can't think of any comparison personally.
Now, Jen St. Orange, you said she did volume 1. She did the interior art as well? Art 1?
She did the cover of volume 1 and 2, and she did a short story in the end of volume 1.
Okay, got it. Who was the artist on volume 1?
The artist on volume 1 is Yishan Lee, who we're working together on something else now. She did a short in Cheeky. She does the short that ties that all together and brings all the characters from the various shorts into one final little story. And right now, she and I are working on a new comic called Private Dance, which is about a New York strip club. and that's going to be coming out in single issues starting next year on Kickstarter. That's my first. Well, I've never done single issues yet. I've only done graphic novels so far. But next year, I'm going to balance both. I'm trying. I'm launching 3 single issue series, including Private Dance, and I believe 4 graphic novels. So I'm going to have at least between the various launches, I think at least 10 campaigns next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I want to be faster. I made it public before. I used to use Taiwan for printing, and best case scenario, sending books to Taiwan and getting them back 2 to 4 months. However, the entire world at large has mostly recovered from COVID. Who hasn't is the port in our country. I don't know what it is, but Taiwan is back on pace, but the port slows everything the fuck down. So when that comes in there, these books are just held for between a month to 3 months longer, and it has slowed my process down. So now I'm moving everything to Canada because my thought process was this, right? If I can bypass the port and make shipping to me, I think 3 to 5 weeks instead of what was essentially 3 to 5 months, I'll pay more, yes, but I'll make more back in the long run because I can kickstart more campaigns. And I mean, I personally, when I don't have a campaign live, it feels wrong. I feel like I'm just like leaving people behind. I always want to be active.
Right. No, I think that I love that the goal to be faster. And my question is how like you're running 4 to 10 campaigns a year, and I respect the heck out of it. And I just don't know exactly how to do that. And that's not really what we're here for. But I do want you to do like a 6-month course for me and Will that we pay you to teach us how to do it, because it's so impressive that you can. Well, as a writer, I can either write, I can either run, or I can fulfill, and I haven't figured out how to do the 3 at the same time, and I think that's amazing.
The balance is hard. I will tell you that. My main job is writing, of course. I do freelance writing for other companies. I write for Zenescope. I write for American Mythology on what was their Lady Zoro title. I'll talk about that a bit later. There's a bit of a weird thing there. And some other companies here and there. And I do some ghostwriting as well. So with writing being my main thing, the business side of things almost becomes an escape because it's not as creative. I don't have to get emotional about it. I can be sort of just like stony faced into the business, making the right calls here and there and there. It's just so much easier for me to turn off the artist side and get the business stuff done, because going into the artist side takes, tapping into certain characters' emotions and just using parts of my mind that I used to use to escape from my normal work, but this has now become my normal work. So it almost becomes this temptation to break from doing the creative work and not tire myself out, and instead just really get into the business side of things. So then I'll end up doing too much business and I'll hunger for the creative. So there's that push and pull there that I kind of figure out as well. But yeah, it's largely doing good work on the business side helps me be a bit more free on the creative side to do what I want there. So I like to think of it as it's all feeding the same beast. It's just different ways of doing it.
What I heard is that you're doing some ghostwriting, and what I'm putting out into the universe is if anybody wants to believe that Pat has ghost written any issue of Tart and wants to buy it, I am perfectly fine with you checking that out and, doing your due diligence. I mean, I might be kind of off my rocker there, but hey,
Hey, it could have happened. Oh, and I did want to say too, I am hosting a Kickstarter business. I have my normal business, which is Space Between Entertainment. That is how I do my Kickstarters, my merch. But now I'm starting a second business called What's Wrong with Your Kickstarter? Where I assess your Kickstarters on multiple levels. I can do a $100 level, where I'll do a quick assessment. I'll write a one-time email looking at the preview page before launch, ideally before launch, because
Mhm.
some of my notes are going to be things like, the artist that you have on this cover isn't quite marketable. If you just take the L there and hire someone else for a cover, that could be transformative for your campaign, helping you pick the right project image and having a good day one. Because if you've already had day one and you're looking for a campaign to break out, it's going to be rough,
Yeah.
And then I do a level where I advise throughout, and then a level where I run the entire campaign. So I definitely am. I'm starting that big. I've done a soft launch where I just tweeted about it, and I have a few clients so far, including who might be my favorite artist writer of all time, in talks for something, and that could be anyone though, because I have a lot of all time favorites. And it's not this guy actually, but I was just talking about writing from Alan Moore's plotline on my cross run at Avatar on Travis Gibbs' podcast. So it's not him for those who caught that too. But listen, Alan, you're not watching because I don't even think you have a computer. But if anyone knows this dude and he wants to make $1 million on a Kickstarter, Alan Moore could become a millionaire by doing his own Kickstarter, like overnight.
About 5 years ago, I was like, I'm spending too much on Kickstarter. I have to make a rule. Nothing over 25.
Yeah.
Nothing. There is no matter how much I love Will, if anything over 25, I can't back his. Pat, I can't back you over 25. That was my rule. I made that rule on a Tuesday. On Thursday, I don't remember what company Alan Moore was doing it with.
Providence, probably.
Providence. It was the Providence campaign.
Yeah.
$125. You can get Alan Moore's autograph on graphic novel. And I knew whole hog, Alan Moore will not sign anything anymore. That's his rule. If you run into him, he's not signing it. It's not happening. So 48 hours after I made my rule that I wouldn't back anything for over $25, I backed Providence for 125, and I said, I guess I'm just screwed for the rest of my life. So yes, Alan Moore could make $1 million easily on a campaign, guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's such an easy bet. Alan Moore should come to me. I can help become a millionaire just in exchange for all the beautiful stories that he's given us.
Of course, Alan Moore could be a millionaire by just accepting the checks that would rightly be his if he accepted them. So he's definitely his own beast when it comes to money.
Here's the thing though too, like I say this and I'm joking because obviously Alan Moore doesn't value becoming a millionaire. That's a pretty cool part about him. Like I see myself because I see myself as before a businessman, before the ultimate G of Kickstarter, before any of that, right? I consider myself to be a creator first and foremost. I am an artist in the true sense of the word, not in just that I draw, I don't. I create, and that is my passion. That's my love. I'd be doing this if my Kickstarters weren't getting funded.
Mm-hmm.
They are, right? But if
you'd be doing it if you won the lottery for 82 million, both ways. Right.
I mean, dude, that's the thing. I would be doing, if I won the lottery, I would be doing 10 times more Kickstarters. I would have a Marcel Dupree amount of Kickstarter accounts, I would be turning shit out. But Alan Moore values the creation of his work and the integrity of his work over anything, overall. So I don't think that he thinks about money in the same way that a lot of people do, because and the truth is, like, I'm not like pocket watching. I don't know what Alan Moore has made, but the joke comes from famously he has left money behind, and that is a thing that is largely unique to him. And I saw some people kind of shitting on him. I saw an editor who was kind of jumped around from company to company to company, can't really lock anything down, shitting on Alan Moore about 2 months ago on Twitter. And I was just like, all right. I mean, people could interpret his sort of rejection of mainstream comics as him being an asshole, but it's not. He's been burned by mainstream comics. He seems to be, I mean, by all accounts of people who know him, he seems to be a good guy. He seems to be a fair guy, and I think that the fact that he doesn't really value the financial climb, that is, I don't see that alone as a negative or a positive, but just his entire persona I see as really worthy of immense respect.
Absolutely.
100%. Neil Adams, I had a moment at a show that he was at, and I had a moment to say, look, I really appreciate the fights that you fought for the next generation.
Yeah.
I thank you for what you did for the next generation, and I'm sorry that it was what it was, but I thank you. And he in the most Neil Adams way, he looked at me like, you goddamn right. and that's it. And Neil, in my opinion, the Neil Adams and the Alan Moore fought the fight, and we can say they won or they lost, and they definitely got screwed whether they won or lost.
Yeah.
So that your Neil Gaimans could get real contracts, so that whoever can get real contracts. And there's still some issues in mainstream comics that I think could be better. I'm not in those rooms, but without giants like Neil Adams and Alan Moore, nobody gets anything. So I appreciate that those dudes said, this isn't right, and I'm going to stand my ground. And I respect the hell out of both of them. I love the fact that he was just like, F it, I'm going to be a sorcerer. Like, I love Alan Moore. There's no Alan Moore insults in front of me without me saying, look, man, one of the best comic writers of all time, whether you love him or hate him, we don't have this without Alan Moore.
No, I mean, he is, he's just so big and so iconic in our sphere that, like, I'll joke about him sometimes, like
you have to.
Yeah, there's funny things about the path that he's chosen. And something that I've talked about a lot is how, he has a thing that should be unique to him about how he scripts. And it's not how the final story comes out, but it's, his actual scripts, the script for A Killing Joke, the script for Watchmen, where each panel is a college essay, right? That style of writing is very well known for influencing new writers. And I always advise writers to just, in your panel description, be brief, evocative, and simple, because largely, especially now, it was less the case back then. It's much more the case now. A lot of the artists that we're working with are running what we're writing through translators, and trying to run through one of those kind of long descriptions to a translator is going to be a major problem for an artist. And my shorthand advice is sometimes, like, don't look at those scripts as the how to do this in comics. But in my mind, Alan Moore would say the same shit. Like, if Alan Moore were working with an Italian artist who is learning English through this process, I really doubt that he'd be like, all right, let's go, we're starting. He would just be helpful to the artist, because that's what our job is, to write these blueprints for artists. So, there's a lot that can be said about him, but in general, absolute legend. He isn't who I'm talking about as far as hoping to connect with someone, one of my Kickstarter icons. But yeah, I was surprised. I I posted on Twitter that I'm starting this Kickstarter business, and I heard from people in the comics industry who I've never spoken to before, people who I've been a fan of, both writers and artists. I'm not sure that there's going to be a fit with everybody, but it was interesting seeing who pays attention, because there's who I interact with, that there are some people who I'm big fans of, who I see as legends, who I see as the goats, who, I've spoken to about, just bullshit on Twitter. But there's a lot of people who I see sort of as like, those who probably, I would think they wouldn't know who I am. But opening this business, even though I don't even have my site up yet, just talking about the service has really showed me that people are out here listening to all of us,
No, but I think it's wonderful that you're doing this. We bring up Tyler James a lot. We bring up Russell Nohelty a lot. Like people who've done it over and over and over again. Madeline Hussey Rawling, the Boston Metaphysical. She has her Kickstarter book. Like, it's really amazing when I see people like you four specifically, bring up our mutual friend, Charlie Stickney, people that have done it, have succeeded, and are willing to, share what you've learned. And what I'll say is, having spent money in the Tyler James course, and that's where Will and I met, I recommend that because it puts skin in the game. It's easier to ignore free advice than it's easier to ignore free amazing advice than it is to ignore good advice you paid for. And like, I know I've watched your campaigns. I think we met like 2-3 years ago. I've watched them work. I've watched the campaigns be delivered. I've watched the books. I've read the books. They're good. So I'm like, okay, guys, if you're looking to learn something, reach out to Pat. And every name that I just said, I recommend. Pat's on the show, so reach out to Pat. But also, if you're in more of the novella space, Russell might be the guy to reach out to, because he's got a foot in both things. Tyler has the Comics Launch Pro, which I love. You can pop over and talk to Charlie, but he doesn't have a business, so forget Charlie. But what I'm saying is, the people who've done it and you've seen them do it and produce and deliver over and over again, they've learned some things. It is great. It is a great idea to pay for that wisdom, because you will listen to it more than if it's free. And that is the weirdest thing about human nature, but it's true.
That is true. And that is, here's the thing. A few of the people who reached out to me, some of the newer creators, were put off by the idea that they have to pay up front, because the fact of the matter is that as much as I can give advice, I can't guarantee someone's going to take or properly implement the advice, no matter how specific I get, And so, I mean, any professional would know, of course, I'm not going to take a piece of the campaign. That's a ridiculous idea, because that's contingent on not what I'm offering as a service, but how someone else is able to perform based on what they interpret I've said, or based on even what they take of what I've said. I generally feel that if anyone, no matter who it is, if anyone listens to what I say, they could have a successful campaign. So it's not a matter of that, but it's exactly what you said. It's that paying for the advice makes the advice have more weight. I mean, I have given free advice. I give free advice not only in direct emails, but also through Twitter. I'll just pop on Twitter and I'll fire off some Kickstarter advice. And so some of it is the same advice that I give when I charge. I just feel generous some days.
It's just more general, not specific. You're not saying you, Kevin Joseph, need to look at this log line because this isn't selling the book. It's
Right.
hey guys, when you're looking at the log lines, you have to be more specific, and there's something to be gleaned, but there's nothing wrong with it. And I know you and Charlie were doing the Twitter Spaces for a while, where there was a lot of really great stuff you were sharing.
Twitter Spaces, that's a great little part of Twitter. Twitter in general, and I'm not hopping on the, Twitter sucks because of Elon Musk. I feel like people didn't remember. Twitter has always been run by the devil. Twitter is not friendly to creators. Twitter has always had an algorithm that suppresses people leaving Twitter. They want you on Twitter constantly. And through that, they've really boosted engagement with people arguing.
I'd say they really boosted engagement with people named Elon Musk. So they're working with a very important population of the ownership group. So I think they're really winning now.
Yeah, but they definitely want us on the platform 24/7. They want us to be arguing. Creators have had to find ways forever to hide our links and to sort of find these workarounds. So Twitter has always been bad for us. However, Spaces, please don't change. Spaces, don't change. Twitter Spaces are great. The fact that they show up as a small, unintrusive circle on top of the app as soon as you log in, and whatever space of anyone you're following, even if you don't follow the host of the space, if someone you follow is in a space, the little circle is there, and you can click on and hear what they're saying immediately. That is, to me, it works against Twitter's biggest problem. Twitter's biggest problem is that it makes us boil down nuanced thoughts to these digestible bits that we can take out of context and tear one another apart over. On Twitter Spaces, I refuse to be taken out of context because I'll make my point to its completion, and that is a rare feature on Twitter because Twitter seems defined by the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, Pat, one of the reasons you kind of came to my notice, and I think it was probably about the same time, was you have such a freaking great eye for artists, man. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, Jen St. Ange is. I was like, hey, I see her, doing some of your covers, doing some stories. I'm like, I need to get her for a cover on, Crossover Division, and that worked out great. Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So thanks for being such a great art scout that then, I can steal from. I appreciate that a lot.
I mean, dude, I've said it before and I mean it. Top Cow, Shadowline, and Marvel, I'm going to start sending you invoices. I work as your talent scout. That's my main job. I'm going to start sending invoices out. And but no, that's true. Like I've given a lot of great artists their first gigs, and I'm proud that these companies see what I do in them. I think that it's great to see artists start with me and then branch off and do their own things. Do creator owns at companies like Image, do work for hire at companies like Marvel, where they can, boost their profile. That's been a fun part of creating as well. There are some artists that I definitely want to keep for as long as I can, and but no, yeah, I mean, it took a while. I actually talk about this a lot in Spaces because a friend of mine, Stokes is a relatively new writer.
Yeah.
He runs Spaces all the time, and he, it's interesting because he's done, I believe, between 3 and 4 campaigns now, and on Kickstarter. So
I know Decay 1, 2, and 3, so at least 3.
Yes. Yeah. So Stokes to me is the definition of why we should listen to everybody, because Stokes has a lot of great points of view that may differ from someone who has been working in comics and doing things a certain way for a long time. He definitely has that because he's been doing this for about 2 years now, he has that sort of why can't we do it this way energy, which I think is really cool and important. But yeah, I talked to him a lot about how important it is in the early stages to actively work on developing your eye, because I was at Zenoscope starting my first work for hire for them in late 2011, and as a staff writer and editor for them starting 2012. And I would sometimes suggest interior artists who were doing a good job try to cover. I would suggest artists I would see in the wild for interiors. And looking back now, a lot of those artists, I see that I didn't get it yet. I hadn't closed my eye to see who would be good at what. I kind of thought if this artist can do one beautiful image, then they could piece together 6 beautiful images and tell a story. But that isn't always the truth. There's a lot that goes into seeing what works on a certain type of piece of art, whether it be a sequential page, a cover, a trading card. There are great artists who I've worked with who I'll be talking to, Shannon Lee, who is the editor on all my stuff, and we have the conversation. Oh, like so and so can't do covers. Period. Like we can't have it happen again. And we'll try artists out and we'll see what works here and there. I mean, there are covers that I've put out that I had a vision that wasn't really met, but I like to make sure that everyone gets to see the fruits of their labor. So I have put these out historically, but largely I do have a vision that how can I phrase this? That I'm trying to pick the best fit for every single possible idea that I have, for every type of cover. I try to hit a certain vibe with every cover on each campaign that's very different. So if you look at a campaign and you only want one cover, there's something for that kind of reader. However, if you're a collector, I want you to look at my campaigns and look at the covers and think, wow, every single cover sets a different mood. None of these can be skipped. I have to have every single one of these. So yeah, it's definitely important to look at an artist's work and sort of see the future. Sort of figure out
the weed and
the future, and figure out just by looking at their style which of your cover concepts they would work for, how they would do on a certain title, that kind of thing. Just being able to know that in advance it's a very difficult skill to hone, and it's an underrated skill when it comes to writers and editors in comics, for sure.
So you are an overnight sensation that took 10 years of nights to come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because I think a lot of people, they just see now, right? Oh my God, this Pat Shen guy just had, a 6-figure Kickstarter. He came from nowhere. Well, no, he's been here putting in the work every day for 10 years. So, you mentioned Stokes. He's been here for 2 years, and he's got that energy to
he's lovingly aggressive. I love the fact that he wants to get out here and take it, and I think that's a wonderful energy to have. But it's also, you need to know that you got 30 steps to get to even. So you can run up the first 18 steps and you can and be angry, or you can walk up the first 30 steps and be okay. And so how do you talk to people who are coming in and they have a great first issue, like they've written, they've drawn, whatever they are, and you see that they have it, they've got the talent, they've got the skill, but they've only done the issue and the audience isn't ready for them. What advice do you have for creators like that?
All right. So for a creator who delivers an incredible first issue, to me, if you could do it once, you could do it again. The only advice I'll give there is just keep doing it. Look at what worked for you here, and do it again. And every single time you do it, elevate it a little bit. Just try a bit harder. Be a bit, hone your eye a bit more for the artist. I do give art notes to make sure that I want in my work, I really value the human experience through characters. I want the expressions of characters to be evocative. I want it to be subtle. I want you to look at a page and not see a disparity between the story and the way characters are acting, and I think that if creators can continue to hone every level of what they're putting into, and also every level of how they collaborate with an artist, with a letterer, with an editor, I think that's going to be the way to elevate. And yeah, I mean, as far as what Stokes does online too, like that's outside even of doing a good first issue. I think that a lot of the way to stand out, not in just comics, but in every creative field, is to have a unique presence. And I think that's very underrated in comics. Comics is big on tribalism, on groupthink, on just, you'll look at your Twitter feed and any tweet could come from any mainstream comics person. It's people are all saying the same shit about the same topics over and over and over.
Crossover Division is the best comic ever made. Oh, I can't. Everybody loves Crossover Division. Oh my God, have you read Crossover Division? Oh my God, these people, Gail Simone, Scott Snyder, always talking about Crossover Division.
They just won't stop. I've seen it too. I had to actually mute Crossover Division on Twitter. So
you have to.
Sorry about that, guys.
I turn against it, but then I read it and I'm like, oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Like what happens on Twitter also happens in person. I would go to comic book conventions and I would walk in the door and everyone would just and they would go, it's him. So I had to just take everyone aside and go, it's kind of awkward. When I come in,
have to get used to it, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just like, I come in and I'm still waking up, so I definitely.
I think the problem is being carried in on I don't know what the Egyptian card is called, but I think that's your problem. If you weren't carried in by 12 serfs, I think you might not get that.
That's a good idea. I should tell my people to stop doing it that way. They were just trying to save me some energy, but maybe.
Hey, have they stopped putting the rose petals in your path? I know that was definitely the possibility of slipping and falling. There could be some workplace violations there.
No, it's true. Yeah, the roses. That started. It just ended up feeling a bit too performancey. So I had them switch to cherry blossom flowers.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
It's better.
Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate how Stokes is online because I feel like in comics, there's this idea that I have to be humble. I have to, I see writers constantly doing this. They promote themselves by undercutting themselves. They say, I've seen multiple times people tweet shit like this where they say, my new issue is I'm so lucky to work with these amazing artists. Thank you for them for turning my script into something gorgeous. I don't know what I would have done without you. And they even go as far as to like jokingly insult themselves. They'll be self-deprecating, saying they turned my mess into something beautiful. And it's like bro, that makes me not want to read your shit. That makes me think that you aren't confident in yourself as a storyteller. So why would I be interested in what stories you have to tell? I feel like that doesn't do what those creators think it does. That does a disservice to the creative team. That's almost like saying, hey, I didn't do my best. I was carried this issue. And Stokes is the opposite of that. Stokes is, Stokes has what I consider to be healthy bravado. And I have marketed the same way too. I think it's okay to sort of play a bit of a character, and to, just to make marketing interesting, because the truth is, just like, the comics community on Twitter can be a bummer sometimes. You go on and everyone's always talking about the most serious shit, and most of it isn't even about comics. It's either about, a controversy within comics that is, you have to study shit to know about. Like, I mean, for example, the whole blockchain shit. A lot of what I saw when Kickstarter announced blockchain, and they didn't even announce blockchain. Kickstarter said, essentially, we're thinking about doing this in the future, and the comics industry went off. And so many of the tweets said some shit like, why should I be mad about this? But not in the way where they were, defending Kickstarter or expressing ignorance. They were saying, I'm mad about this because you are. Tell me why we're mad. And, and that's just like, bro, like you are not thinking about things. Why?
Right.
If you don't know about a topic, why go along with the crowd? Why not either read about it or shut the fuck up about it? Like I don't talk about that kind of stuff because I don't read about it. Like I don't know a lot about these topics, so I don't make it I don't make it what I put as my front-facing look on Twitter. I talk about what I want to talk about, because it's not fun for me to go on and just see people complaining about the industry constantly. I want to have fun on social media. I want to.
It's just cheap. Bah.
No, it's true. It really is true.
And it's kind of hard not to. At some point, I did want to talk to you. I saw the thing with you and Anthony about Bravado, and I kind of like both of your internet kind of personas / personalities. I think what I said is the toughest thing for me, and I try not to be like, my script sucked, but Ludo made it good, and Cassie.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me as a writer to turn in a script and then have two editors look at it. And when I look at what they've talked about, and I make the changes I agree with, and I fight for the things that I disagree with what they said. And then all of a sudden the script's that much better. And then Ludo draws it, and then it's that much better. And then I get the colored art, and it's that much better. And then DC Hopkins letters it. And all of a sudden this script that I wrote that was down here, that I'm proud here. Like, this is something that I don't turn it in until I think it's good. Not necessarily great, but it's good. It's something worth reading and telling the story. And then the book that I'm kickstarting is up here. It's very tough for me to be too cocky about me. I'm cocky about the book that I'm releasing. And I think that it's an interesting discussion that every creator needs to have with themselves, with each other, about where is your sincere and true to you persona online. True to me persona online is not, I wrote the greatest script, can't wait till you read Tart 15. It's, I am so proud of Tart 15. You've got to read it. And it's very tough to dissemble where I am, where the art is, where the editor, and it's a extremely interesting thing to kind of take apart and put together and find what works for each individual creator.
Well, I'll say this too. The idea of the scale where your script is here and the art takes it to here, I would complicate it with this, right? I think that there's two different scales, because the script is, it can't be the whole. If this is the range, the script can only hit so much. Like, it's not, if you look at a comic, it's never just the script, so you can you can make the best script of all time, and it wouldn't be that much above, because you still need to bring it home with the rest of it, so to me, when you say that, you're just acknowledging that you're collaborating, like, that doesn't say anything negative about you, that someone elevates you.
No, I'm great.
Yeah. So
Darn right.
Yeah, no. You should think that. You know?
It's my birthday.
Exactly. You should think
Is
that.
it? Yeah, for 30 more minutes.
And you know, any art will elevate it if it's acceptable, at least, because then it exists as the story.
Right.
I've been in situations, mostly when I've done work for hire, where I will look at what the artist has done and I see, oh, they didn't understand this part. They aren't communicating this, and that. So then it becomes my job again to over letters, or hopefully before letters, rewrite elements of the script to fit this art style. Now, that makes it a different thing. It makes it not what it could have been, and
Right.
and that happens a lot, you know. But it's just, I don't know. There's no really dissection of trying to see what the writer did, because the fact is that in ideal situation, the writer should be able to come in and mitigate any problems that come along as the process goes. You know, I rewrite over letters all the time. Not only when there's a mistake, I will maybe catch a different vibe from seeing the art, and I'll open my script next to the art, and before it goes to letters, I will rewrite a lot. And so yeah,
because what was in narration is right there on the panel, and you can just delete it, or they've created a character that is doing something cooler than what you thought about, and you kind of you jazz, you know, you syncopate with the art.
100%, yeah. And but I also, you know, growing up, I loved, and this is true of rap music, it's true of sports, and it is not true of any other creative expression, art form. And I don't know why. It's in rap, it is commonly accepted that a rapper should think that they're number one. The genre is largely about bravado and about, you know, like most songs, I mean, not most songs, a good portion of songs are, you know, bragging bars. And then in sports, you see the same thing. You see athletes striving to be number one, even if they're on a team, that they can be 100% part of the team while 100% building their legacy. But for some reason, in other art forms, I'm talking prose, I'm talking playwriting, I'm talking comics. For some reason, if you say, I want to be number one, if you see yourself that way, if you try to manifest that, for some reason, it comes off as negative. So I am pleased to see someone like Stokes who goes against that accepted grain, because to me, that grain is one that is rooted in bitch assness, and I don't like that. You know, I don't like the idea of marketing by shitting on ourselves, because again, that does not do a service to the artist. To me, it does a disservice to the entire creative team, to the final product, and it's a thing that I see commonly. I want to see people who believe in this shit to a fault. I want to see more personality. You know, I want to see more weirdos. You know, I want to see more different vibes of people. And Stokes, what drew me to Stokes is that he reminded me of someone that I would be friends with in real life, and now we are, you know. But like, a lot of the times I'll see this marketing style and these posts on social media where if I knew this person, and I saw them in person, I'd be like, why the fuck you post that? Like that was weird, you know.
Yeah, but Stokes, the greatest thing Stokes tweets is, "I will get better at making comics today."
That's his shit. Yeah. That's
if
his shit.
Any single person can have an issue with that tweet, they need to look at themselves, because I'm going to be honest, I let a lot of days go by where I don't get better at making comics. Now, I'm not saying Stokes every day is doing the work. I don't know Anthony's work schedule, but I know mine. And sometimes the actual day job takes precedence. Today I got 50 Kickstarter rewards out to the post office.
Dang, that's great.
Yeah.
Right.
You know how much better I got at making comics today? Nothing. I got books to my readers, and I'm super pumped and happy. But I didn't get any better at making a page turn work. But but I love when I see that, I think, oh, I need to get on my stuff.
Yeah. But did you not though? I mean, that's getting better to me. And maybe Stokes would disagree. This is his shit, so he can define that. To me, I look at what you did as getting better at comics, because you might have not honed your actual craft, but you set yourself up to have backers who believe in you, right? Long term. So that, to me, that's getting better at the business of comics. I see that as you actually getting. I mean, 50 packages in a day is great. That's some hustler shit. That's great. I think that you did get better at making comics today.
I made at least 38 people happy.
Hey,
go ahead.
It's so we talk about the business of comics, and just kind of a quick aside for me, when Crossover Division started out, I was going to do an 8-page pitch package, and I was going to go to publishers.
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, heck yeah.
And
do it.
And then the pandemic hit, and publishers just said, "Screw you guys, we're not doing anything." And I'm like, okay. Which made me think, well, why do I need a publisher? Now, I get it. There are valid reasons to have a publisher, especially if you want to get into the market that is the direct market. But I'm going to get my work out there. Do we need that? Because
Can I ask one
Kickstarter.
question before you asked your question? Did you ever think about not having a pandemic? Isn't that on you, Will?
It is. I'm such a dick,
All right, no, ask your question.
I mean, the question, I think my question is, and for someone like you, Pat, who've had some tremendous success with Kickstarter, do you need the direct market versus do you want the direct market? I mean,
that's the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. When I do direct market work, it's a marketing tool, and it is fun for me. I was staff writer at Zenescope from 2012 to 2016, and I didn't write any of their titles again from 2016 to 2021. And I'll say here, in 2021, I took on Van Helsing again. And I did it because I started to read their work again. Because for those who don't know Zenescope stuff, there's a lot of perceptions about Zenescope that are wrong. That company they have a shared universe of public domain horror, fantasy, and superhero characters. That is their universe. It is the vibe inside is much like Marvel to me, but better. And my time there, I essentially wrote all the characters that I had interest in. I had long runs on all those characters, and then when I left, I felt done. But I picked up reading my friend Dave Franchini's Bell series. Bell was a new character, who was sort of like the Grim Universe, that's the shared universe, the Grim Universe Batman. And I read it, and I thought it was so good. And through it, I could see how in the years since my absence, not only had there been new characters added who expanded the universe, but there was also changes to existing characters that excited me. So I came back on Van Helsing, and when I talked to Dave about the beginnings of my work with him again, he said, "Why don't you stay on Van Helsing for all of 2022? we do year-long arcs. We'll do a year-long arc with you on Van Helsing, and I'm writing the finale of the arc today. And I talked to Dave Franchini and Dave Wall, who run the ship there now, and I was like, "Hey guys, we're at the end of my year-long run. Let's just decide if we want to re-up, and I'll do one more year, or we'll see if I want to go on to a different title." And we talked, and I'm staying on Van Helsing for the foreseeable future. And the reason that I'm doing that, beyond their reason for having me, the reason that I'm doing that, the reason that I came back at all was because it was fun. You know, it was fun collaborating with writers and to write with and from their outlines, to sort of play with characters in a way that's different from how I do it alone, you know. And the same is true of my other work for hire and my DM creator owned work. I see that too as just another way to be seen, to do work, to get people out there, you know, buy my stuff. But I could operate on just Kickstarter and I would be 100% successful. But I don't want to just be a success in one realm. I want to be a success in everything that I do. I want to have a great Kickstarter presence, a great DM presence, but I don't need any one form of release that's going to entirely define me in any way. You know, I feel that I could do anything, you know, and that if I put my mind and my creativity and my team building effort toward it, I think that I could be successful in any endeavor. So no, I definitely don't need the direct market.
That's awesome. Shawnee says, that's great, Pat. I like Zenoscope, and Van Helsing is one of my favorite characters.
She's so fun to write, you know. Things are changing a bit after this current run, because this run she's sort of been in the depths of depression as she looks back toward her past and realizes some dark things about her upbringing, and her journey as an inventor and a hunter. But now that she's worked some things out, we're having major fun as we sort of reinvent what a Van Helsing book is.
Cool. So you started at Zenoscope in 2011, so pre-Kickstarter or pre-Kickstarter becoming a thing. Since you were, let's just say, kind of on the inside of the direct market at that point, what was the kind of perception of Kickstarter, you know, Kickstarter comics? Are they real comics? You know, are they real creators? Or, you know, what was the perception from, you know, a company that, you know, was in the direct market of Kickstarter? Was it competition? Was it just, you know, these are just those weird indie guys doing their indie crap, you know? I mean,
I'll say this. First, I'll talk about Zenoscope, and then I'll talk about the industry at large, because I've had these conversations with other publishers as well. Zenoscope has always been an outlier. They've always been ahead of the game because they're separate from the game. If you look at interviews with Ralph Tedesco and Joe Bruscia, they have never followed industry trends. They've always spoken their minds. They have always been these lone wolves who have cut their own path in comics, and they were one of the first publishers that I'm aware of that I would consider to be a big publisher who used Kickstarter. They used it back in, I think it was 2013. It could have even been 2012. It really could have been 2012. They did a Kickstarter to fund a pilot for the Grimm Fairy Tales animated series. They put out on DVD and Blu-ray, and I was at a screening for it, and that was before Kickstarter was even a thought to me, you know? And at the time, while Zenoscope was embracing what would be, I mean, to me, Kickstarter is, I compare it to the renaissance of Image, to those creators leaving these corporations and setting out on their own and creating Image. Kickstarter, to me, is the next iteration of that. Now, I would argue it's even bigger, but that's a discussion to be had. But Zenescope was far ahead of the curve there. While Zenescope was doing that, there were other publishers who were eyeing Kickstarter while also looking down at the creators who were using Kickstarter. You know, they were eager for the industry at large to warm up to corporations doing it while judging creators who could do it as, oh, they just couldn't get it made, when that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, and over the years too, the quality of what people are bringing to Kickstarter has dramatically increased. And I mean, do you remember the time? It must have been 2016. Do you remember when goddamn Archie tried to do 3 Kickstarters? They announced they announced the whole shit. And
I missed the Zenescope, but I remember the Archie, and it was just people who hadn't paid any attention.
Yep.
Coming, and I
doing something.
I love Archie. I love like, I think the first comic I ever probably had bought for me was, you know, sitting in public saying, "Mommy, can you buy me, you know, Archie and Jughead?" And so, like, there was a part of me where it's like, I really wish this could succeed because I love Archie, but they obviously just said, let's go to this island where you get money, and let's not worry about any of the things where other people on other islands have made money. They were just like, we're Archie and we're on the island, give us money. And it was the saddest. It was sad to me. It wasn't like, I wasn't mad. I was just sad.
I wasn't. All right. So here's the thing. What Archie, it's both their fault in how they rolled it out, but to me, more than anything, it's their fault in how they pulled back. To me, I mean, no offense to anyone there, it's a great company, but that could be possibly the most pussy move in comic book history. To bend your business plans based on some bullshit people on Twitter who don't even use the platform are saying. Those creators talking about, largely, those creators who are criticizing Archie for using Kickstarter, which was supposed to be for the indie creators. No! Kickstarter is for creators, period.
Period.
Kickstarter is not this fucking.
Keanu Reeves wants to make $1 million for Berserker. Go
for it.
Yes.
For it.
Kickstarter isn't the.
Brandon Sanderson wants to make every dollar. Like, he wants to make Elon Musk's entire do it.
Yeah, Kickstarter is not the island of misfit toys. No. And people have seen it that way. And Archie folded. They folded right away. And possibly the most destructive move to other publishers in the history of comics. That shit scared publishers off from using Kickstarter for fucking years. Now you're seeing publishers use Kickstarter without fear. You see Vault announce a Kickstarter, not a hint of controversy. I personally ran Black Mass Kickstarter. I didn't hear one negative fucking thing, right? But it's 2022, right? Years after Archie tried that shit. Yeah. There could have been publishers growing Kickstarter for years, because that's what happens. These publishers are growing Kickstarter. Every time a major publisher or a major figure like Keanu, right, they come to Kickstarter, Brandon Sanderson, they grow the platform. They bring new people in, and Kickstarter has data on this. You know, I've argued with these Twitter cucks who say these things like, oh, no, you're wrong. This is for us. This is for the indie creators. No, you bitch. No, it's not. It's not.
Do you know how many dollars a Pat Shand backer has taken away from Will Allred and Kevin Joseph? Zero.
Zero.
Do you know how many dollars a Will Allred backer has taken from Kevin and Pat? Zero. This is the most additive place in the history of publishing. If Pat Shand delivers a book to a reader and literally it gets there, because, you know, there was Wild West in 2014 where, you know, three of 7 campaigns weren't showing up, but now most campaigns are getting here. You know what? Michelle Lodge, Nine Crow. I just got her hardcover about a month ago, and I finally got to read it. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Every single person who backed that is more likely to back the three of us because it's a great comic book by a great creator who delivered a beautiful book. And it makes me so angry that anybody would think that it doesn't make, I don't know. It doesn't make me angry that anybody would be mad at me for making money because I don't care. But it makes me mad that anybody would be mad at Will for having a gangbusters campaign.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Pat has a gangbuster campaign. I've read Thirsty. It's a great book. I'm so happy you made the money to put that book out, because as long as somebody is cool with not safe for work content, it's a really good, well-written, sexy, erotic story. And it's like, let's build a good time for readers, each and every one of us. And that's why I wasn't mad at Archie for being on Kickstarter. I was mad at them for kind of not doing their due diligence in creating a good campaign. I had forgotten that they kind of canceled the campaign. I actually had
entirely back. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too. I see that a lot too. That does annoy me a bit less so because it's more like publishers will go all in on the wrong thing. A publisher will go in and push, we hired a publicist. Vafangul, I don't give a fuck about a publicist. What's the creator? Who is building the campaign? What does it look like? Right? Some of these campaigns that the bigger publishers, the bigger editors do, they don't fucking have interior artwork on the campaign. It's like, bro, look, that shows people don't look at what other creators are doing on the platform when they already have a brand. If you lean back on your brand and don't attempt to have a campaign that as good as the next man's campaign, I don't see it as like a vulture thing because everyone belongs there. Everyone who wants to Kickstarter to launch a project on Kickstarter belongs on Kickstarter. However, I want these campaigns to do fucking amazing. I want every single campaign to be great when these large companies launch because that'll grow the platform more. When I look at these campaigns, I mean, bro, there's one that launched recently from a major IP and they ran out of rewards. Why? Don't I mean, why? I want all these campaigns to go in so prepared so that every time that they come on, there's more people going to your campaigns, to my campaigns.
Yeah.
And
so that kind of comes into a question in the chat. The wine and cheese, I'm going to have to, my eyes. I do think I understand where the fear comes from. Indies can't get visibility easily when the big pubs are present, and they fear crowdfunding will work the same. So I do understand that fear, but I think that in my personal opinion, the first campaign I backed, it wasn't Joe Schmo's little comic book. It was Amanda Palmer's album.
Right. That's largely the entryway.
Yeah. So somebody, I was reading the Neil Gaiman thing, his new wife. Oh, this is a cool campaign. This is fun. I jumped on. I learned about this new thing, and all of a sudden I was backing comic after comic after comic. And of course, after I ran a campaign, it got kind of maybe sociopathic levels, but still it came from somebody that wasn't an indie comic person. It was a well-known famous person, or whatever. So it's like knowing that I was drawn in, and I backed over 1,000 campaigns in the last decade.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's because of Amanda Palmer, but I'm saying she was the first campaign I backed. I can't
she started
be
it.
against it.
Yeah,
But-
that scarcity mindset, that's it's the wrong mindset to have. I see it a lot on Kickstarter, and I had the conversation in a space recently, and the only inch I'll concede is this: when creators are new and have not developed their eye and are not using eye-catching art and marketing it in a way that's going to be beneficial toward them and their campaign, that is the kind of campaign that can get kind of swallowed if there are multiple other campaigns like that. However, when you reach a certain level where your campaign is appealing in a broad sense, I want to have other campaigns of equal appeal when I'm on. When I'm on, I want Charlie live every single time. I wish that Charlie would do a fucking Galarian every single month. Because if he did, right? If Charlie did, right? Step it up, Charlie Stickney. If he did, anytime I wanted to launch, just because of how I know I would bring backers in and how the Kickstarter algorithm works, Charlie's backers would see me every time.
Right. If you have 1,500 and Charlie has 1,200, and then you guys kind of have a spaces or however you would do it, I would say explain yourself where you and Charlie are on. I'm just speaking it into the future. But
are you smoking weed too? Sorry.
I'm not. But hey, I'm not saying it was my birthday. It's not my birthday. I'm not going to do it. It's after 12, so that shit's over. But what I'm saying is, say you have 1,200, he has 1,200. You probably share 400 backers. You guys go on spaces, and if you can get 200 of your backers to Charlie, 200 of his backers to you, that is extraordinary. And quite honestly, if you can get 15 of your backers, it's still going to move the needle. But one thing that I did miss, there was a second thing. He said, but crowdfunding does operate different than the direct market. The fear is largely unfounded. And certainly I agree. I apologize that I didn't see the second part of the comment.
I'm sorry. I think Kickstarter is like
box of chocolates,
the largest comic shelf. And the thing is, the big publishers, us indie people, and everybody in between, we all get the same slice of that bookshelf, right? Or that comic rack, and how appealing, just to speak to what Pat's saying, how appealing we make our project is what's going to get it eyeballs. Because the great thing about the Kickstarter algorithm, however it works, is that, the discoverability becomes easier as you get more backers, right? So, but there is great discoverability on Kickstarter, which I think is a problem for some of the other competitors. I want a huge, healthy crowdfunding, ecosystem, but I feel like some of them just aren't quite there yet from a, complete bells and whistles package. And Kickstarter's not even there because, I'll complain loudly about how they do their surveys and how you do freaking, shipping with Kickstarter. It's a nightmare. Although I'm supposed to read something the next time I log in. There's a little thing across the top that I'm going to read. But they did something with easy shipping. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know what it is.
Do your homework well.
I know.
I do want to say this too, like, that is true about us having the same shelf space, but I think that newer creators, they learn in time though, but it frustrates me more when the tried and true creators who have been doing this for years don't understand that, and they will blame the lack of their campaign's success on things like Keanu. I saw that multiple times. I saw creators who were hosting genuinely terrible campaigns, and these are creators who have had success before, but just their specific campaigns currently during the times that I've observed this behavior weren't good, flat out, and they blamed their failure on external forces when in every situation, it's the fault of the creator. I mean, I'm looking. I wanted to see if this was true. If I could just offhand glance at Kickstarter and know, and I can. I opened Kickstarter. I sorted the comics section by newest, and I looked at the first 6 thumbnails, and these are all launched today. And what do you know? The best one has the most money. That's what it is. The most professional looking campaign. I can tell from a fucking thumbnail. The thumbnail is the best. It has a cool logo. It has an element of genre. It has an element of sexiness. Of course, it's going to beat these campaigns where they look like they were colored in Microsoft Paint. Like these campaigns, no offense to any of them, everyone has their journey, but it's just the blaming of external forces when the way to do it is so right in front of our eyes. It's wrong, you know. I scroll down more, and what do you know? Every single thumbnail that looks really good is the most funded out of the batch, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and it's people who did their homework are doing a little bit better one way or the other, and yeah, I don't have any argument.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this too. There are campaigns that are more niche. That's the one I'll give an inch there. There are campaigns that are more niche that I personally wouldn't want to look more mainstream that struggle because of how niche they are. Like for example, I scroll down.
Can I ask, are there goals lower?
Sometimes, but there are some campaigns where the backer count is very low. Like I'm looking at one, and the goal isn't that low, and the reward level is both fair and high. This campaign is called Shitbird, SCHIT bird, and it's a funny drawing of a pigeon, and it's shitting on its own logo. And I'm looking at this, and every page is the pigeon shitting on something else. And personally, I think this is a funny and cute idea. I like this a lot. I think it's really cute. And it isn't doing what it should be doing. In fact, I'm going to pledge to it right now.
And explain yourself exclusive.
It's there's always, I mean, wow, there's a lot of early bird levels. But I want to pledge at the not early bird level to help this get funded. Wow, it's a lot of shipping. That's a
there you go.
But
I will go back to digital.
That is a crazy amount for shipping domestically, but it is okay. Oh, maybe they aren't even domestic. But anyway. This campaign looks great to me. And because of this being niche, it isn't going to catch the eyes that I was talking about there. That doesn't make it a bad campaign.
Correct.
That's the one allowance that I'll make there. However, when you're doing something that is in the same vibe as other IPs that work on Kickstarter, that work better, right? You gotta look inward. You gotta look inward. And no matter what, this campaign, my campaigns, anyone's campaigns, cannot blame guys like Brandon Sanderson and Keanu Reeves. I almost said Kanye West. He's doing some other shit, you know. For their campaigns, since they're growing the platform.
Yeah. Well, and what you just did, I mean, by backing that, anybody that follows you on Kickstarter just got an email that said, "Hey, Pat Shan just backed this." I'm like, well, you know, shit, I back shit that Pat backs. Let me take a look at this, you know?
Man, I'm a good guy, dude.
You are. You're so awesome.
So my eyes are so bad. You'd never see one publisher promoting another publisher's book in a DM distributed, direct market distributed book. But in crowdfunding, everyone promotes everyone. It's all visibility, and it's a new mindset approach. I think that one thing that I would say about that is that one thing that I believe that in the 70s and 80s that DC and Marvel knew was that there were there were two boats to get on. And you could get on both boats. You could definitely be a DC and a Marvel reader, but if you were going to read comics, you were going to read one or the other or both. So I don't think they had to kind of do this. Although I think a little bit of the My Distinguished Competitor almost promotes it a little bit.
I mean, the fact that you remember them calling it that is that was promotion for sure.
Yeah. I think that was almost a tacit promotion of comics in general, in a way that two people who have, God, in the 60s and 70s, they probably had 85% of the market, and that might be conservative. But in the late 80s, with Comico and a couple, they might have had 70%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they had to. Now, when you're sharing 1% of $100,000, which is what Kickstarter might be doing, or even 5% of 100,000 or 10%. There isn't the competitive nature that is when you're trying to fight for 51% of $1 million. And I think that's the difference between what we know of the direct market in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the Kickstarter market of today. We're trying to fertilize this farm. We all have a small amount of acreage in this farm. And if we can build it all up, I might have pineapples, and pineapples might be worth, $12,000, and Will might have oranges that are worth 30. And Pat's coming in. He's like, I've got an idea. I want to do avocados. And we're like, let's see how avocados work. And it's like, no one's going to buy less pineapples if avocados work well. And I think that's where we are with crowdfunding right now in comparison to the direct market in the 80s, 90s, and today. And, there's nothing right or wrong about all of that, but it's super interesting to talk about.
No, I mean, yeah, I noticed that, again, kudos to Zenescope. Whenever I do a stream with Zenescope, at the end, they always say promote your other stuff too. Like, they'll say, what do you have coming out from us? And what do you have coming out from not us? And I've seen it a few times in some back matter. I remember it was an issue of Buffy from Dark Horse. The editor was sort of shouting out the writers' other work from publishers. And I thought that was cool because it was rare. On Kickstarter, it is not rare. On Kickstarter, we not only do we choose? See, here's the thing. We always talk about creators do these exchange of updates where, like, say, Will, you're live, I'm live, we'll do an update exchange. I'll shout your campaign out, put a few pieces of art in the campaign, a link, and you do the same for me. That's great. What we don't talk about that much is that what Kickstarter is already doing for us, right? In that same update, not on the actual update page, but on the email. If you look at that email, on the bottom, Kickstarter has already randomly selected, or maybe based on popularity, other campaigns that they put there. That's great. Yeah. That's Kickstarter is already doing the promotion work for us because they're also benefiting from these campaigns that do well. I was while I was running and still am running, you can go there right now. It's tinyurl.com/420comic2. While I was and am promoting this Kickstarter, my one that I did that I ran for Black Mask Studios, while that was live, I would see that showing up in my emails all the time that I was sending out personally. And I wasn't doing it on purpose. It was just there. And so Kickstarter was helping me promote other people without me even really knowing at first. And that's great. And there are many things. That algorithm and how the algorithm works for creators is the main thing that competitors like Zoop and BackerKit, now that BackerKit's doing campaigns, and Crowdfunder are missing. Like, it's not gonna, those campaigns sites cannot keep up with this interwoven web of an algorithm that listen to this. I was talking before about how Twitter's algorithm is meant to push creators down. Before Elon, before all that, it has always been designed, as is Facebook, as is Instagram. What they want you to do is, oh, you want me to promote your links? Pay me money, right? That's what those sites do. Kickstarter is essentially a mixture of a crowdfunding campaign, a newsletter, and a social network. And it's the only social network that boosts the algorithm in a way that makes you make money without paying out. They'll take a percentage, yes, but there's no ad costs. There's none of that shit. Kickstarter, the algorithm is the one algorithm in the history of social media that works for us.
Yep. And it wasn't built overnight. And that, I think that's the thing about, it has grown, and they've made it work better and better over the years. And that's something that, Crowdfunder hasn't got to yet, or BackerKit, with their crowdfunding, or Zoop, or any of them haven't really got to yet, because they don't have all of the eyeballs,
history,
history to get it all there. I mean, and I hope that they get there. I really do. But for right now, I mean, if someone came to me and said, hey, I want to do some crowdfunding, I'm doing comics, where should I go? The answer is Kickstarter.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And what the fuck was I going to say?
You're going to say...
Oh, right. Zoop. Okay, Zoop. I want to say this. I have talked to Jordan from Zoop multiple times. I think he's a good guy. I think that Zoop has potential. I talked about it on Twitter.
I'm sorry. I'm now drunk. I'm sorry.
No, here's the thing.
I'm sorry. That was drunk Kevin just trying to.
No. Drunk Kevin should be honest, Kevin, because here's the thing. There is a world of difference between beneficial now and potential, right? Zoop has potential to be viable in 5 years if they can bring bare minimum what Kickstarter has done for an algorithm. What it needs, though, is something that it can't do by itself. It needs creators to sort of dive on their own sword. Right now, if you do a Zoop instead of a Kickstarter, you're out of your mind. But at the same time, for Zoop to become viable, we need people who are out of their mind to do this, to develop the algorithm. So one day there is a competitor. So maybe one day there's a choice. Because right now, first of all, there doesn't even need to be a choice because Kickstarter is great. But who knows what the future will bring? Exactly. I want there to be a choice. Maybe one day Elon Musk takes over Kickstarter, and hey, maybe he'll make it amazing. Maybe he'll make it better, or maybe he'll make it.
Wait. The first thing you said was perfectly plausible based on history. The second thing you said based on history was in goddamn insane.
Well,
yes.
Who knows? But all I'm saying is that
Elon could buy Kickstarter for like $82 billion.
Sure. Yes.
Period. Now go on.
All I'm saying is that anything could happen. Anything could be waiting for us in the future. So I genuinely hope that Zoop, one, changes their name, of course. And two, works hard to become an equal to Kickstarter. Because anything is possible, right?
Competition is a good thing. One thing that has come out, Shawnee, in this last week is Kickstarter has basically, I don't know the ins and outs, but it seems to be BackerKit has created their own crowdfunding. Now, Kickstarter was ignoring that. BackerKit taking money from the surveys for a long time. Now that BackerKit is running their own campaigns, Kickstarter is trying to take that back. So it will be very interesting to see what competition does between Kickstarter running a campaign and BackerKit delivering it, and BackerKit running a campaign, etc. I'm really interested to see what comes from Kickstarter being pissed off about BackerKit creating their own crowdfunding site.
Well,
I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm interested in seeing it.
I have a dog in the fight, and I'll tell you
Woo!
Zoop, I want to do well. BackerKit to me sucks dick. I hate that they charge a percentage based fee, and for what? What? There's nothing that their service does that increases in difficulty as the backer number increases.
Okay, so I'm totally ignorant. What's the difference between the Kickstarter percentage and the BackerKit? Because I haven't looked into it.
Kickstarter percentage. Well, the problem is this: Kickstarter charges a percentage to host your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Right.
BackerKit charges a percentage to run your survey. What? That's, to me, a percentage-based charge should either be something that functions in perpetuity. The Kickstarter function is the campaign exists because of us. We're hosting you. Boom, makes sense. BackerKit is doing a one-off service. They're building a survey that as creators we're building it. Why does that service increase exponentially as the campaign does? That makes absolutely no sense. I would have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands more to run a cheeky BackerKit, which would be the same amount of work for BackerKit as someone who did a $500 campaign. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I heard such good things about BackerKit that I tried it out, and in seeing their communication and seeing how the entire platform was laid out, as far as the survey, I would never try a campaign there. I was trying the survey manager there, and I hated it. I hated how it was done. I asked to pull out, and I regretted it as soon as I accepted the percentage-based fee, which I ended up not having to do because I pulled out before doing any work on it. And it's not fair.
I've heard that pulling out always works.
I've been known as the pullout king, and that's real. But yeah, BackerKit, I don't get it. I don't get why people love it so much. I don't get why it has become the go-to for surveys, to the point where some people will not purchase add-ons thinking that the creator is going to do a BackerKit. I want that to stop, because one, it's charging it. Bro, you hear my cats down there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, they're going off. Charging a percentage-based fee is predatory toward the bigger clients. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. And then they don't offer anything more than the Kickstarter. Bless you. They don't offer anything, in my view, that the Kickstarter survey doesn't offer, that the Backer report doesn't offer. I don't like it at all. So I don't see them being like the one that steps up as the big competitor.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
This is totally honest. Are you an organized human?
Wait, say again?
Are you organized?
I'm organized as fuck, yeah.
Okay. Will is organized. I wonder if for people, and I'm speaking completely like, I'll pretend I'm not organized. I'll pretend that I'm the type that doesn't do Excel. The Kickstarter add-ons are confusing, and I worry in a way that is almost paralyzing, that I won't know who is getting them. And I don't have that fear with the way BackerKit creates it. And I don't know if that's me, Kickstarter, or BackerKit. So I'm happy to do BackerKit. I'm happy to sell enough add-ons to pay for the BackerKit to feel like I have 300 backers and 30 people do add-ons, and I feel like I'm going to get 29 of the add-ons right.
Yeah.
So that maybe I have to pay shipping for the one person I messed up because I missed something. I don't see that Kickstarter's add-ons are intuitive, easy to understand or organized. Whereas I do see that for BackerKit, but I know Will is an Excel guy. You're organized. It may be the situation of somebody who really knows how to work on the front end versus somebody who has to work on the back end.
Yes, I would complicate it with two things and then reiterate and expound on one thing. To complicate things, as an organized person, I find BackerKit's, how would you phrase it? Their interface, trying to understand how BackerKit organizes things and just the look of the site. To me, where's the masterclass? The shit is not intuitive. It's so difficult. It is 10 times harder to me to be organized on BackerKit than it is on Kickstarter. Maybe once you learn the site and know the ins and outs of how it works, to me it just seems like so much more work. I know that Charlie and I listen, Charlie Stickney, I love him.
Is the worst, right? We can all say that, right? The worst.
Charlie is my man. He is a real life friend of mine.
I keep trying to insult him, and no one will come with me on this.
I have an insult coming. I have an insult coming. Charlie and I consider him a real life friend, but he and I disagree on everything, which makes sense because he wears a mask alone in his car. But he is a major BackerKit advocate. Wow. Eminem, BackerKit advocate, you know. He's a major BackerKit advocate
I'm on it.
Who he thinks it's easier. And that's so it isn't that I'm right and everyone else is wrong. But it's not, people have different needs, you know. People want different things from different platforms. But to me, the only thing that I will never concede on is that a percentage-based fee for a service that doesn't change and doesn't add work for the actual people providing the service, it makes no sense. It's predatory. To me, it should be tier-based that caps. There should be a definitive cap to a building a BackerKit costs. Of course, charge a percentage of what you're selling through the add-on store. That makes sense. But to charge a percentage of the original campaign that BackerKit didn't have a goddamn thing to do with it, fuck out of here. You know, that makes absolutely no sense to me.
Well, I'm gonna try to throw a wrinkle in that for you. One,
do you have time?
BackerKit has the nice. BackerKit has the promotion service now, so they'll actually come in before you do your campaign on Kickstarter. You know, they have
the launch.
BackerKit launch. Yes. That's what it was. Thank you.
They do.
And that I think is something that Kickstarter I should be able to go to my Kickstarters and say, I want to email all of the backers that I've had, period, one time. I can do that with BackerKit. I can't do that with Kickstarter, which is hugely annoying.
It's insane.
The other thing that for me, the first BackerKit that I set up was kind of a nightmare figuring out that survey stuff. I mean, I had to get on a call with them and they helped me finally walk through it. Once that first one was set up, I could just copy it and then change it. So it's gotten way easier. But what I love about BackerKit is the shipping integration. I use ShipStation for my domestic stuff. So it actually makes a database connection to my ShipStation. I can go push these orders magically. Boom, they're over in ShipStation. I then print the labels and then I hit refresh in BackerKit and suddenly those are all marked as shipped. It's freaking magic and I love it. Now, is it worth a percentage of the campaign? You've got me thinking about that, but I do love the shipping part of BackerKit with the segments and everything.
All right, so I can I think that your first point ties in with what I'm saying. That Backer Kit launch, right?
Yeah.
What it's called. Backer Kit launch is the service that will take every account that has ever pledged to you and email them in one fell swoop that you have a new campaign live. Great service, and I agree. Kickstarter, for not having made this a part of their own platform, is lacking. But Kickstarter Backer Kit launch is a separate service from Backer Kit surveys. Now,
Yes.
what is the difference in how it's charged? Backer Kit launch, which is their most valuable survey, is not percentage based. Because
Yes, you're right.
so that's
$99, bam.
Yep,
Yep.
$99 and a fucking percentage is not one. Okay, that shit is great. I think that's a great service. And when I get to a place where I'm less salty on finding out how Backer Kit works, I will probably use it. But the rest of the stuff, like as far as the integration with ShipStation and other platforms, like I know Pirate Ship as well. I get it. I don't operate that way, but I get it. I also don't concede that is worth a percentage, because there are shipping platforms where you can upload an Excel sheet, you know.
Yep.
So Backer Kit isn't offering anything.
And by the way, the Excel sheet is exactly what Backer Kit gives you to upload to those shipping software.
Yeah.
So me not knowing how to do it, I'm super happy, but you guys organized don't need it.
Well, I mean, I don't use Excel at all, but Kickstarter too, you can just download your Backer report, you know,
Yeah.
and that's a sheet as well. But yeah, for such, Backer Kit is it's accepted that people are going to use it, and for a service that is that widely accepted, I would think that they would offer something that even attempts in any way to earn the
percentage
to have a percentage-based fee.
Yep.
And I
get you.
I will say though, as somebody who I've done fine on Kickstarter. I really have done well, better than my dreams, and I want to do better. But I've always paid my fee for Backer Kit or Crowd Ox. I did Crowd Ox once. Kind of liked it better, and then they merged. Crowd Ox went away. But I've always sold enough add-ons to pay for Backer Kit. So for me, I've always been like, okay, it paid for itself, and I've got more books out. So I've always felt personally like, fine. I haven't been like ecstatic.
Yeah.
But I felt like it hasn't cost me money. But there is a world where I sell $150 in add-ons, and
yeah,
I'm screwed. So it's interesting. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll complicate that with this. You made back what you paid out, but they also chipped away at your stock, because this is what you had at the start of your Kickstarter, right? They take a percentage off, right? So you want to earn that back by putting a bit of your stock back in, and guess what? That same stock, they take a second percentage off again. Like, bro, like what? Like, that to me, it's indefensible. Like I think that the service could be good, but
that's super interesting. And what I would say as somebody who is good with Backer Kit is, for me, it's up to Kickstarter to make me feel like I can trust their add-ons. And so far, they haven't given me that trust.
I think, all right, there's a lot that I would say Kickstarter should improve on. And in fact, I had a meeting with Kickstarter developers this week, and I gave them my brutally honest advice about what is bad and what is good. In fact, there's one problem. It's so minor, but no one ever talks about it. When you're drafting an update or your campaign, if you hit bold for a word, it'll be bold for that one word and kick off as soon as you're on the next word. It's so subtle, but their blog interface is bad, and that needs to be fixed. But I talked to them about a lot, including add-ons, and I think that the add-ons on Kickstarter have already gotten better in the past 2 years. We've gone from a place where we had to, advertise add-ons as, hey, message me if you want this extra item. Right? That was bad.
Terrible.
And now they can just select it from a drop-down menu. Now that menu doesn't need images. Yes. Do the reward tiers need images? Yes. Kickstarter is aware of all this. These are conversations that are already being had, conversations that I have been part of in giving them feedback, both directly toward the comics rep Oriana, who was great, and also toward Kickstarter developers this week. That needs to change, and hopefully Kickstarter, I actually had a small exchange with the CEO of Kickstarter, Everett, on Twitter, where I was talking about how I hope that Zoop and these other, I don't think it's in the cards for Crowdfunder. I don't think it's in the cards for BackerKit, but I hope that these competitors can up their game so Kickstarter will see what they're doing and increase what they're doing to compete. And Everett, the CEO of Kickstarter, came into my mentions and said, we don't even need competition to up our game. We're already doing it internally. And I took
why didn't you do it 2 years ago then?
He came on in September.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care. I don't give a shit when you got your job. Don't tell me you don't need competition. Yeah, this is that. Okay.
I thought it was a good response. I mean, they to me they have gotten better.
You might have thought it was. I think it's a shit response. It isn't here. You haven't given it to us. I don't give a where you were 6 months ago.
Okay.
Give it to us now.
I'm patient. I think it works well as is. I think it can only get better from here.
No, Kickstarter is great.
Yeah.
I have zero. Like, I have 2% interest in looking at other things. I have zero interest in any other crowdfunding than Kickstarter for my books.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
There are some campaigns where I look at.
They're not perfect. I want them. I want them to keep growing. I do.
Always. There are campaigns where I've wanted to make an account and to pledge, like David Byrne did Cancel 2 to back and I was going to pledge the day that I saw that it was over. I was like, fuck, I missed it. But at the same time, like, now when that campaign comes to Kickstarter, he's gonna kill it.
Yeah.
So you want to hear my story with that?
Yeah.
I cannot back BackerKit crowdfunding campaigns.
Why?
I can't. I don't know.
Oh, well, you won't.
No, I can't.
His account.
Not that I won't.
Oh, your account can't do it. What?
If I back a campaign on Kickstarter who works with BackerKit, I must fill out my survey as a guest. Somewhere, my email does not work with BackerKit.
Okay.
I cannot.
That to me
back.
that basically ends the BackerKit argument, right? That's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Iron Circus had a campaign I would have backed.
Yeah.
David Byrne had a campaign I would have backed. SourcePoint Press had a campaign I would have backed. This is 3 campaigns that I would have spent, 25, whatever. Would it have changed any of their successes or failures? No. I couldn't back them for some reason. And I'm done asking BackerKit to fix it because it is so much more important to me as a creator to have BackerKit work for my campaigns than me, Kevin Joseph, as a reader.
I feel you. At the same time, though, I mean, the fact that could happen to any account is very damning. I have a kind of hot take question for you guys.
Fire away.
When do you think Iron Circus returns to Kickstarter?
Super interesting, and my answer will come with a caveat that they did a campaign that was their own.
I know.
And then they did a backer kit campaign.
Yes.
So let's look at the numbers that I don't have any interest in. Meaning they don't tell me where they are and what. So probably soon, but I don't know what they made on their last two campaigns.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just, I think that anyone who bought into especially the tried and true creators who bought into the we gotta go blockchains happening and push that as a marketing reason to really up themselves. I look at that and I cringe. It's using that as a marketing tool to build yourself. I thought was a pretty negative thing. I didn't personally like that. And I saw a lot of creators doing it. I saw creators who have never launched a Kickstarter campaign go, I was thinking about Kickstarter, but now I'm not going to use it. It's like, bro, you're clout chasing. Nothing has changed on Kickstarter. They haven't done shit. And these, a bunch of these hot takes from creators were stated on Twitter, which is a site that uses blockchain.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm glad that conversation and that whole controversy is largely over. I did a Kickstarter panel with Oriana, with Amanda Connor, and a few other great creators at New York Comic Con, and there was one question about it in the audience: how can I trust Kickstarter to do this? And my answer was, don't worry about it. It's not even a conversation amongst my backers. Amongst my thousands of backers. It's not a conversation in my network of creators. It is not a fear at all anymore. The only fear was that they were going to scare people off from the huge social media reaction, not the actual news, but the reaction by creators who largely aren't involved in the platform. So I was pretty bummed when I saw some creators who are involved in the platform kind of fall into the fear of the whole blockchain thing on Kickstarter and move on to other platforms, Zoop, BackerKit, all that stuff. And I'm eager for them to come back to Kickstarter and keep enriching this platform because to me, it's inarguably still the best, and there's no controversy that has.
I certainly heard you and Charlie saying that, and I respect it. And this is more me. This is more me looking at what that exact Kickstarter statement was and hearing them saying, hey, we're going to do this. No one's going to be forced to take blank. I have a real rough time with NFTs and personal like crypto, and this is my own personal thing. So this isn't, if anybody wants to take Bitcoin, fucking do it. I'm not casting any aspersions to anybody who wants to take Bitcoin for money. If that's your thing, great, do it. If you want to sell NFTs, that's not my thing. I get it. Do your thing. My thing about what Kickstarter put out at the time,
yes,
which scared me, was no one will be forced to accept Bitcoin.
Okay. Why did that scare you?
It scared me because I had a friend who worked at Kickstarter who I respect to the nth degree, to the highest degree. this person is the smartest, most noble, like a good person
Okay.
who was part of Kickstarter for 2 months after this conversation.
Okay.
And she was forced to quit Kickstarter 2 months after. And as somebody who has never put her on the spot, because I don't have the friendship where that's right. I have a relationship with her like you, Pat, where I'm going to watch what you do and respect what you do.
Yeah.
Right or left, and I'm not going to try to get into what you make your decisions, because I respect what you do and I think you're smart.
Yeah.
And I think you're a good person, and I think you're doing what's right for you, and for the most part what's right for everybody, but for what's right for you. And I watch somebody who I respect as much as you can respect somebody have to quit Kickstarter because I saw her not get the answers from them that she needed to get to continue working there. And that is scary to me.
Well, hold on. Can I ask you what
Yeah.
you mean by forced to leave?
I saw somebody who worked for Kickstarter who had to quit because they weren't getting the answers to the questions they asked. That's it. That's all I know.
Okay. Here's the thing. I feel like the comics industry is treating, and it's crazy because we say the exact opposite. We say corporations are not people. However, comics people largely treat corporations as if they should have the morality of a person, as if they owe them some kind of answer.
True.
As if every corporation isn't making choices that if a person made, they would be monstrous, And I would say if this person was working at a McDonald's, they might have some issues with the impact of McDonald's on the health of Americans. And if they are to, I wouldn't say that they were forced out if they had questions that that corporate wasn't answering. They chose to leave,
Sure. Agreed.
So I don't really accept that as something that I would be personally worried about, because what responsibility does a corporation have to one worker to explain
none, zero,
the unannounced details of something that they announced they might do in the future?
Sure.
It was a vague announcement, and I just don't accept that. I look at that situation, and I mean, my honest thought is they quit over that. Like that.
Yeah. No, my okay, so fair. My honest thought is creating this super vague statement to get venture capitalists excited.
Yes. Okay.
And the people on the ground said, WTF. And then I see somebody who has a foot in the game taking, this person did not quit the day after the comment was made.
Yeah.
Or the whatever, however you want to call that. It was a month and a half later where they very quietly said, I have decided that this is not my spot, did not make a big deal about it, did not make this a huge thing. I think that the CEO of Kickstarter, when they made their statement,
yes,
fucked things up. I am viscerally angry at the person for deciding that this was a great idea, because probably they make more money on their video games and whatever than they do on comics. I get it.
Oh yeah.
If you're making 180 million a year on one thing and you're making 18 million a year on another, I get prioritizing it. I get that. Like, I totally get it. And I still feel Kickstarter is the place to be.
I agree.
I am so livid that a year ago we had to worry about ourselves because somebody decided to jump on a train and jump on this. And a friend of mine had to lose her goddamn job because they wouldn't give her a goddamn answer that made her feel like she could still, with integrity, do her job. I am still pretty angry about that.
I hear you. I don't relate to the idea that there is something worth quitting over, even if they went through and did it fully.
I mean, but is there not something worth quitting if somebody is doing something that you feel violates your integrity?
Yes, 100% yes.
Period.
However,
That's fine.
yes, that's I agree with that. However, I think that the idea of this specific thing being seen as a violation of integrity, I do not relate to anyone who feels that way.
I think that's a debate.
I would go even as far as to think that it's silly. I think that comics at large is addicted to these controversies. I have group chats with creators that we all know who I go in and I say, hey guys, just so you know, this next topic is the next big controversy everyone is going to be addicted to. And every single time I'm right. Every single time. I've been in this shit for over a decade, and the comics industry is addicted to defining and shaping their entire personalities around these banal controversies, and Kickstarter, their flaw was this: they couldn't have predicted how soft comics creators are. That's their big flaw to me. I think that.
Do we matter to them?
100%, yeah, 100%.
Do we?
Unambiguously, yes, yeah.
Do we? I mean, comparison to what they make on video games and
no projects.
No, we do. The CEO of Kickstarter follows and engages with us. They hire a full-time comics rep. They
a good comics rep.
Yeah, I mean, unambiguously yes. Unambiguously yes. They largely probably even curbed the whole blockchain thing because of the comics industry's reaction. Because other industries don't have this reaction. The podcasting industry doesn't have this reaction. The comedy industry doesn't have it. The film industry doesn't have it. The trading card industry doesn't have it. Comics is the only industry in my mind that goes all in on every single controversy and defines itself on all these.
Good or bad, I agree with you. Good or bad, I agree with you. And I'm as much of a, like, obviously you can tell, like, NFTs offend me on a personal level. If I didn't know that mining Bitcoin used up as much energy as every solar panel in the world, I wouldn't give a shit about Bitcoin. That kills me. And and no one has given me a reason to believe in blockchains or NFTs at all, except for some get rich scheme that has every single time either been proven to be bullshit or a scam. And I hope it's bullshit, because that's great. Bullshit's great. A scam is worse.
Yeah.
I get so viscerally angry at having some artists that I adore being scammed into putting their own thousands of dollars into NFTs that are now worth $7. I get so angry, and like this is this didn't. I'm sorry to get into this, but it's like,
no, I don't care. Yeah, have no personal investment in this conversation beyond I am annoyed that the conversation on Twitter went on for as long as it did and was perpetrated largely by people who are not really involved in Kickstarter. That's my main concern.
Fair.
And because I don't give a fuck about NFTs either way. I have no judgment for those who do them. The only thing that I know is I know that NFTs and blockchain are being spoken of as the same thing when there is a large difference in how they are used and how, in reality, the internet in general is headed toward this. So for Kickstarter to be the one that we demonize, and this is the one that affects indie creators, and it's being spoken about on a platform already using it, to me, shows the comics artists and comics writers are the ultimate fucking bullshitters.
Sure.
So
I've
never heard.
Oh, okay. So yes. So here's my question: I've talked with Charlie with this, and he kind of gave me kind of the same argument you gave, and my question was: Kickstarter is not a corporation.
They're a public good corporation.
Public good corporation. They have created their bylines based on doing good for blank. So if Twitter wants to fucking kill baby seals to make profit, I can be against that.
Yeah.
But there's no hypocrisy. If a corporation has changed their for-profit motive to be good motive, can I hold them to a higher standard?
No, because Twitter does front itself as a public good. Twitter
is corporation the same type as Kickstarter? I am ignorant. I don't know.
No. I'm not talking about business. I'm talking about.
But they're a corporation.
Hold on. So when a guy like Jack, who runs Kickstarter, who runs Twitter in the past, and Elon, who runs it now, they both presented as a moral good. Jack presents it as changing the conversation and connecting people worldwide. Elon Musk presents it as this bastion of free speech. They're both trying to frame it as this moral good, and all companies do that. You see these companies take on these causes, these social justice causes, and if they actually make a difference in the world, great. However, they are also lining their pockets 100%. So I put them all in the same box. I judge them all the exact same way, and I think that Kickstarter, especially because indie creators' lives and livelihoods depend on it, I think people were talking too reckless. I don't take NFTs personal at all. I take it personal that there were these people on Twitter who were so recklessly talking about how people should stop backing Kickstarters based on an announcement that was virtually nothing. Here's the thing. I know it doesn't impact my bottom line because I don't believe customers give a fuck. I have never heard about I've never had a conversation about someone out of the comics industry in real life. A regular, normal person has never brought up NFTs to me, negative or positive. Outside of the comics industry, even in listening to podcasts and comedy shows, never heard it mentioned negatively. Only in comics do I see people who are 100% nerds who are so into them, or people who are so against them. Never elsewhere in the entire world. So I wasn't worried that it would impact my bottom line. I was just offended that people were being so flippant with how they were dismissing this entire platform, which has done so much good. More good than they'll ever do, more good than any publisher whose dick they suck will ever do.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. My thing was never leave Kickstarter. My thing was never Kickstarter needs to go away. My thing was my personal thing was, if Kickstarter is going to chase this, and I think that people of good conscience can read what Kickstarter put out in different ways. I think people of good conscience can read it as this is something that could become in the future, and also we're going to chase the thing that might be repulsive to you. I personally never like the thing of you'll never be forced to be blank. I don't love that as the thing that's put on me. Hey, you can be part of the group. You'll never be forced to whatever pejorative you want to put on this, because I'm not going to put it out there and make it a negative. Like, I didn't love the way that the thing was put out. I think that it was a supremely short-sighted statement put out, I think, to get the venture capitalist and video game people in.
Yeah.
I love that you're saying that they care about the comics people. I read it as we could go fucking jump off a cliff.
Well, I think that they're smart enough to know, though, that you can't paint comics people with one fell swoop. You know, I don't look at the comics industry as an industry defined by I hate NFTs. You see the loudest people talking about it all the time. Yeah. However, the comics industry is full of diversity of thought, and it's full of people who are largely regular people who don't even know what an NFT really is.
Or do your thing. Do your thing.
Yeah. I personally don't care about the NFT conversation in any way. Outside of don't wish the platform bad because they announced something that wasn't even NFT adjacent, really. It's a different technology that is seen as tied to it, you know? Because that's how NFTs operate. But I would also venture to say that most of the people don't know about the other sites that they're using, which are on blockchain, which they use every day, which they funnel ad revenue into. But because it was comics related, it wasn't anything about morality. I strongly feel people weren't taking a moral stance. What I feel is that the new controversy came up. People are, got to get my take off. I got to be seen as a moral good person today. I have to get my points in today. And they did. And that's, I'd say, 95% of the conversation was people doing that, and 1% maybe people who actually are super knowledgeable about it and against it, and the other 4% people like, I don't know what this is, what's going on, and I don't see it as this big super informed negativity about it. I see it as just another comics controversy, and yeah, to me it was nothing. I think that, do I wish they didn't announce it? Yeah, because we would have avoided a few annoying weeks on Twitter. But the conversation is largely over. You know, like there's been no impact really on the comics community. There's been no impact on Twitter. It was a moment where, in my opinion, the comics industry had a fucking hissy fit, as it does.
But you say that they didn't push it because of the comics community. So did the hissy fit work or no?
Well, here's the thing. They didn't announce that it was coming. They said, we're looking into it. And then they didn't set forth any plans, and no plans have happened. And all we've seen since then is a vague update. That there's been nothing about it. And to me, it was nothing from the start. To me, it'll be nothing if it happened. You know? I don't think it's really...
Dude, I really appreciate you discussing this with me, because it's something that does work at my craw, that they'd be perfectly fine and just put this fucking bomb in our laps that we didn't ask for.
Yeah, in my opinion, they don't see it as a bomb, and I think that most of the people on planet Earth wouldn't see it as a bomb.
But the comic community does, and I'm a comics creator on Kickstarter.
Yes.
And Kickstarter put it in my lap.
Yes, but
they that's why I say they don't give a shit about comics creators, because they're looking at the video game people and the venture and like the more mechanical whatever thing. I don't think they give a crap about us.
No, they
to have not even
100%
thought
do.
about what they would do to us when putting this out.
I think that you're painting us with a really broad brush, though. You know, like
Sure,
you
fair.
are talking about your reaction. That
Sure,
was not my
fair.
reaction. That was not my reaction of most
Fair.
people I know. That isn't the reaction of most what I interpret most working creators in the comics industry. It's that reaction is driven by a conversation which I don't think is interesting or accurate. You know, to say that that's evidence that Kickstarter doesn't care about the comics community makes it seem as if you think that is the pervasive opinion and the pervasive take in comics, when I think it's anything but.
So that's my personal opinion, and could be wrong.
Yeah.
So how much does comics make for Kickstarter compared to like video games and board games and robotics?
Board games, I'd say probably does it. You know, board games and overall tech are probably the biggest, but Oriana gave figures, and I don't know them offhand, but Oriana gave figures at the New York Comic Con panel, which already in that sentence, two big indications that Kickstarter gives a fuck about comics. New York Comic Con panel, Oriana. That's a person who is salaried, who makes a living doing this. If Kickstarter didn't give a fuck about comics, they wouldn't have that. They wouldn't put the algorithm toward working for comics how they have. They wouldn't have the CEO taking his time to interact with us on Twitter. There's all the evidence in the world that they care about comics, and the only evidence really against it is you saying that you personally didn't like a piece of news. Like that's not like really an argument to me, you know, because that
well, it's my argument, but it's fair for you to say it's not.
I mean, like, but you have to say that's your reaction to the news. I'm in the comics community too. I read that piece of news.
Of course,
Charlie did too. We read that. And we thought,
no, I argued with Charlie. He can get him on. Call him.
Yeah, like the fact that it's not good evidence, I'll say, that they don't care about comics, because most of the comics creators that I talked to didn't care about it at all. So they couldn't have. There wasn't like people saying, "Oh, we don't care about these people because a few of them or a portion of them are against this." It was, I mean, I don't really understand that point, you know, because it's not as if the comics industry as a whole agrees on this topic.
Correct.
On anything?
No, yes. No, the comics industry is a million people doing their own things.
Yes.
30% of us think something, 30% think something else, and everybody else is like putting their nose at the grindstone. I get it. I don't have, I want you to know, I have no disrespect for your opinion on this.
Oh, no. I know.
Zero.
I'm saying that I kind of feel like even in debating, there's this. It's hard for me to understand why you think it's proof of them not caring about comics creators in the face of me responding that not all comics creators feel as you do. You know, like
fair. No, fair.
Yeah, because
I
like,
don't.
What I wonder
I'm
is
trying to say is I don't think that comics were part of the conversation when the CEO at the time made the statement. I think we were at best an afterthought.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I have no thoughts there, because the statement, again, to me wasn't interesting or relevant to me, you know. But what I would ask you is, like, say they did, right? Say they went all in. Say they went a step further and say they introduced an NFT tab where people could kickstart and create NFTs, and say they had an option to pay out in blockchain. Does Kevin Joseph stop using Kickstarter?
I'd vomit first. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I may not. I may be on Zoom. Because
Do you feel
at
that
best, at best, NFTs have been proven to be
Ponzi scheme.
no, at best, they've been proven to be a bad idea. More likely, they've been proven to be a scam, and at worst, they've been proven to be a Ponzi scheme.
Okay.
I can't personally, in my own place, profit off of an NFT feeling lit. No. At best, they're valueless.
Okay.
To me, at best, they're valueless. They are a JPEG that I know are wonderful to send out to people
Yes.
if they want them, and you can put your value at whatever you want. $2, $10, $1,000. I don't care. What they want to pay is fine. But the quote unquote gas tax and everything I've looked into blockchain is the people who want to put their fucking mortgage on a blockchain scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
These people, when people can get your passcode and steal your millions of dollars, or you can forget your passcode and you can never get your thing. Okay, so like to me, to sell somebody, I have to pay $800 of gas tax to create an NFT to sell a $3,000 JPEG. At best, I see no value in selling that to somebody who is supposed to say, Kevin Joseph, I trust you and I want to help you. So at best, I see no value in offering this thing to somebody who I want to make a reader of mine, a customer of mine, whatever. Then we go to maybe a scam, maybe a Ponzi scheme. I'm not smart enough.
All right, I agree with all that, and I'll take it a step further. Right, people who are in NFTs have tried to bring value to the idea of having an NFT by saying things like this: "Oh, if you have the Aziz Ansari NFT, you'll be able to do a meet and greet." So I will complicate that by saying, or you could sell a ticket for a meet and greet. So that I agree with. The one thing I would say is this, though. I feel like we're putting so much morality on these corporations that we are using as tools. Do you have an iPhone?
Sure.
Would you say that Apple at large has done more negative things for the environment, for people in factories than Kickstarter? Even if they were to go
certainly.
these, and yet you're using an iPhone to forward your business, right? So that's why I think that the Kickstarter argument is just
is Apple a corporation or a for good whatever Kickstarter says they are?
Why does that make a difference to you?
It makes a difference because of hypocrisy.
But do you think that Steve Jobs has,
I think he's
alive, RIP, has not, he still does. But don't you think he's positioned himself and his company where he thinks that he is doing a net good for the world and has advertised Apple as changing the world, advertised himself as the new...
You watched The Good Place, right?
I watched seasons 1 and 2 of The Good Place.
Okay, I can't talk to you about it.
Well, okay, so
there's something in 3 and 4 that is awesome to this conversation, but I don't want to mess it up. Okay. Not because your thing.
Right. So the difference between Apple,
difficult.
Yeah, the difference between Apple and Kickstarter is Apple is
a
for-profit corporation.
You do.
Okay. I don't very specifically dollars and cents. I can't see on an Excel sheet how I profit or lost on Apple, whereas on Kickstarter I can, and I want to be. I love Kickstarter. I'm not leaving Kickstarter. I want you. I want to say this.
I'm just interested in the conversation because I don't agree, and I'm trying to understand where you're coming from because I look at them both as tools. You know,
Okay,
we use tools that are made by corporations which have made decisions that we as people would largely never make.
Kickstarter has not acted on what they said they were looking to do. Okay.
100%.
So we're here. Okay. Over here, I was super worried. If they decide to change their thing to do the thing that they said they wanted to do, I may change my business mindset.
Yeah.
So far Kickstarter said, hey guys, here's a great thing. We're going to open up all these things that you may or may not hate.
Yes.
They've done none of them so far, which people like you and others have said, don't get too crazy. They may never do this. And I respect the hell out of that advice.
Yeah.
I never once said, I'm never doing Kickstarter again. I've done a Kickstarter since they made that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to do one in January.
Hell yeah, me too.
But I am saying full front, if they force me to choose between profiting in a way that I'm uncomfortable or finding a new place that I might profit less at, I may make the choice. I was on Gumroad until the CEO decided to be doxing people about NFTs and shit. Like, there was a point there where about a month where every place where I tried to make $1 on with integrity and with I don't know, just respect for myself, where all the people in charge said, no, I'm going to step on a puppy's skull so you can make $1.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to step on a puppy's skull. Can't we all just make $1?
And you don't want to be part of that.
I don't want to be part of it. I want to make money. I am a capitalist. I am super.
Watch out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a catalyst. Catalyst. I'm super happy to make money. That is great. I think it's a wonderful thing that we can play crazy make 'em ups and possibly hit gold and make a lot of money and continue doing what we're doing. I just don't want these people to make these choices for me where I have to hate myself for making money.
Yeah.
And Kickstarter has not done the thing yet that they said they might do a year ago that scared me. And I'm perfectly fine with Kickstarter.
Good. Yeah. I mean,
I haven't done it yet.
Right. And I think that they probably, if they do, they'll be a lot more quiet about it. Probably. But
you know what? Maybe that's what I want.
Yeah.
Shut up.
That's
puppies,
exactly
but don't make me think I'm killing the puppy.
That is exactly my point. Because I see this comment here from the Wine Comics and Pairing Show that says, but we can't equivocate that because other companies are more unethical and moral. We can't aim at others. Bad things domino because one company group goes all in. The same goes for good things. Now,
sure.
Here's the thing. I think that because Apple is such a large corporation, that the evil that they do feels less our fault. I think that the fact that Kickstarter is a creative corporation that's smaller, that we have become a community on, that's more personal than Apple. So when they choose to do something that people would morally disagree with, it becomes more of a personal issue. My point there is that I just struggle to really understand it because at the end of the day, it's still a business that's trying to make money for themselves that we make money using as a tool. I make money using my phone. I make money using Kickstarter. If I were to look into what Apple does and the people that are hurt by a corporation of that size existing, that would probably feel really bad, you know? And I would feel a lot worse than that as I would feel about the sort of more vague and debatable impact that NFTs have that you look into and people are just arguing about it constantly, you know? So that's my one real takeaway is that I saw a lot of people who use tools from companies that do a lot worse than Kickstarter could do at their absolute most powerful and bad, immediately condemning Kickstarter and saying don't use it off of a we may maybe do this, and it's because it's more personal, and it's I took exception to that, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that is an extraordinary discussion. I appreciate you for being part of it. So
Yeah,
thank you.
for sure.
I thank you. I love you, man. You're doing
Yeah,
great shit.
I
I
love you too,
appreciate
man.
you being part of the conversation. Whether I think we're more 52-48%. I don't think we're 75-25 on this.
As far as disagreeing,
What's that?
as far as disagreeing,
As part of where we are. Yeah. I think
yeah.
so.
I mean, I'm as far as the NFT conversation goes, I consider myself not involved at all. You know, like I am not interested in either the benefit or the negative impact. In my mind, I let the nerds fight it out, figure it out, and if it becomes a net good, great. If it becomes a net negative, hope they work it out. I don't. I'm not. It's not my field, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that we both want Kickstarter to work. I
Mhm.
think I don't think anyone here wants people out of
Yeah.
Kickstarter. I don't think they've done any of the things. I think a CEO, I honestly, I think that some tech CEOs go to lunch, get excited and get erections and send out an email.
I mean,
And
it could be. It could be.
and then they hear back and then the erection goes away. I think is personally. And then some guys like, I got enough money that my erection's staying and I'm going to buy Twitter. But I
Free speech. Sorry.
yeah, free speech. Absolutely. He has his right for $44 billion worth of free speech. I can't argue it. So Pat, I love you. So let's talk about before we go,
Yeah.
smoke pot and see the future. If somebody came in late, let's talk about that campaign.
All right, Smoke Weed to the Future. It is live now. You can get volumes 1 and 2. It is about a seer who develops a strain of weed that allows people to buy NFTs. No, that allows people to.
It is the future. It's the
Yeah.
only way to make money.
When they smoke it, they too will see the future. They'll see their own future, and they come to her to smoke for therapeutic reasons, to figure out how to solve problems in their lives. They come to her for petty reasons, to see spoilers for a TV show that they're excited to see. They it explores the human condition through our fear of what is to come. It is a comedy, it's a drama, it's a romance, it is a crime thriller. Come through and get volumes 1 and 2. It is also a spin-off of Destiny New York. That's my main series. That is a world where magic is a real and everyday part of life. If you want to get that too, you can get caught up on the entire series. It has run for 5 volumes so far. You can get volumes 1 through 6 on the Kickstarter. 6 is in production now. It'll be put out the same time approximately as Smoke We See the Future Volume 2. So that's where we're at.
Awesome, man.
And don't forget, I'm sure you haven't forgotten, but if people want to get Destiny New York through their local comic shop, it's available there as well, right?
Yes, it is in comic shops through Black Mask Studios, who puts it out as single issues. Also, I do Gangster Ass Barista. That's my a different spinoff that follows a former gangster, current barista, Trinity. 3-issue series running through Black Mask. I also have As of the Barbed running through Scout Comics. We're releasing our 5th and final issue next month. That is me and Rio Burton, who is killing it on the art. That story is about a banished warrior who has to decide if she's going to let her homeland that cast her out burn as the demon god resurrects, or if she's going to go there and fight for the people who kicked her to the curb.
Nice. And as the Geek Collective says, I think I live that log line for
Boom. Let's go ahead.
smoke weed and see the
See
future.
the future.
We don't have many campaigns that's still alive. Pocus Hocus, the Solus edition, I still see has. Oh no, that's successful. Oh my gosh, that might have been tonight because it's on
It's
the
done, right?
top.
Yep, I think it just ended. Yep.
I filled my
So-
survey out. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have Pioneers, Blood and Stars. That is the comic from. Well, it was gonna say it. So this one is. I'm a little drunk. Sorry, guys. It was my birthday. I'm
Happy
into it.
Pioneers Blood and Stars is still running, Kevin. So it's good until
What's it
December
about?
7th. What's it about? Vampires in space.
Yes, that's the one.
We still have We Promised Utopia, the second season of that, which is an ecological thriller that takes place in 3 different timelines.
Yeah.
Before adopting a carbon kind of something that we'll see in the series. Something in the far future where we're at something of a utopia that has a hidden secret that will lead to its downfall, and then in the far future where it's a survival because everything has fallen and humans
Humans got involved.
Humans are on the precipice at that point. But it looks like a really good series too.
And Joey says the Geek Collection ended tonight. Well, we didn't know that, Well, we appreciate everybody that came in. Pat, love having you on. We need you on with Charlie every month, as you said.
Let's do
You
it.
and Charlie do a campaign every month, and if you want to come on, we will have you. And everybody, thank you for hanging with us, and have a fabulous night. And Will and I are done for the year, so we won't see you next Friday or the last Friday of December. We're going to hang with our families. So we wish you all happy holidays, happy New Year, and good comics. Good night, everybody.
Good night.